I wanted to do a follow-up on the video the other day, and all I can say is, I told you also, you, as I finished the end of this awesome bottle of 1980 Lagavulin, one of my favourite, well, one of my favourite smoky one, put it that way. It's not even nearly my favourite whiskey. But that's another story. So, right, so who lied? They both lied. I still stick to that fact, what I said before, not fact, that point. It's not a fact, it's an observation. And you can see now the revelations coming out that she wasn't honest. So, something that no one's really mentioning. People are mentioning the fact that she the thing that I said before too, about her not being able to, she can remember that she had a beer, but she can't remember where things were and all that sort of stuff. I don't know if I said everything about that in the video, but I'm pretty sure I did. And the other thing was that I mentioned in comments, but I didn't mention in the video last time, was how she had said that there was when the examination was done, that the guy came to her hotel, that her grandmother had died. I think it was grandmother. And it was just after that she was staying in a hotel, and then later on, it could have been the next day. So she can't remember something that just happened last week. And I understand that you do get that in life. You do get people who have a bad short-term memory, but that's short-term memory. What happened yesterday and the day before isn't really short-term memory, right? That's what happened a few minutes ago. Like, I'm quite bad at remembering what happened 30 seconds ago, but I can remember what happened when I was 1, or actually 1.5. Oldest memory, ripping my mum's earring out of her ear, which I just found out was not 3 years old. I was actually 1.5 years old. She just told me the other day. I remember the color of the hairdryer, what it looked like. My point is, there's different types of memory, but it's getting pretty hard to argue against when, okay, now you have the other revelations coming out now about the fact of this ex-boyfriend of hers who said that she was coaching a friend through, he's a cop, I understand as well, which means he has to point out the fact that she's perjuring herself. So that's another, you've really got to look at these sort of things where there's fire, there's smoke, there's fire. So I think, that's so nice and rounded, 1980. Anyway, it really is painting a picture of the fact that she's scheming. And if you really look at the DNC as a whole, especially this radical feminist collective that exists in the DNC, it really paints a picture of you belong in this kind of sect who will do anything. The Hillary supporter sect. It's not Obama's DNC. It's not the DNC that let's say he's pissing in the wind doing this, but Bernie Sanders is trying to create, because it will never exist, because he will never want to. Well, if he had power, which I think he would never have really had if he'd come to power, which is why, even though I did support him to the tune of a few $1,000s, I'm kind of glad, because of the T-tip sort of thing, America didn't join TPPA. To me, that was the biggest thing. I would have paid 10 grand to make that not happen of my own money. And the fact is that hadn't happened for America, which means corporations just had a little bit of a kick in the nuts, And he would not have been strong enough to stand up against people for that. So again, I think it's actually probably better that I didn't get my way and that Sanders is in. But getting back to the lying situation, this is why people need to not be so bipartisan. You need to look at everything with a fresh pair of eyes. Don't look at it with Republican eyes, Democrat eyes. And there should be 3 sets of eyes at least. And that should be independent of some sort. There should actually be 50,000 million sets of eyes. There should actually be 7 point whatever it is billion, 7.8 billion, whatever it is our population is exploding to at the moment. Because everything should be looked at from your perspective. Don't be tainted by what you've learned, what group you might be part of, which people, what other groups that you hang with, or your friends around you, peer pressure, whatever it is. Look at everything with your own 2 eyes, because then you'll start to become a critical thinker, and that's what the world needs right now, is people who can think critically. And when I look at the situation between Kavanaugh and her, I say that Kavanaugh looks the most honest out of the two, although he's blatantly, obviously covering something up. Because let's say for a fact, okay, it could have been, let's say he can't remember her, and he honestly can't remember her, and he probably can't. What her case actually exposed was the fact that there's some things that he can kind of remember happening, not necessarily even with her. It could be with, that's the thing, it could be with other people. And that is why he didn't want to go for the FBI investigation, because he's thinking, oh fuck, who the fuck's she? And I've said this in the previous video, I've raped a lot of women. Which one could that be? That's kind of what might be going on there. Because there's no other reason that a guy who sits in court for half his life, inspecting the details, some of which come in from the police force, who we know are corrupt as fuck all around the world, right? FBI, I don't know about corrupt, but I know they're pretty much fucking useless, because I've tried to use them and they're actually completely tits on a bill useless. And various other government entities, he's going to be examining facts that come from them and calling them credible witnesses, and to put people away. And now he himself will not allow them to be used to scrutinize evidence that comes directly from him, not indirectly, his diaries, right? So I don't know. I think there's stuff that, again, where there's smoke, there's fire. The fact that he wouldn't want to give anything, even taking that away, taking the fact that he is, in my mind, I've been put in situations a few times in my life where I've had to, what's the word? I wouldn't say interrogate people. Well, kind of in some ways. I've had to basically smell out a liar, and it's either been because of money or because of a situation of risk or liability. And so I've had to watch people closely. And watching him closely the first time, I thought, this guy's covering up something. Watching her the first time, I said, she's a blatant liar. So I'm really glad I said that now. And now that all these things are coming to pass, because if people, I know that, I'm thinking, sneeze coming. That's not good. Okay. No. I think it's going to happen. No, it's not happening now. Damn it. I keep on getting this sneezing thing today. Don't know what's happening with even though we're in fall. Doesn't matter. Let's move on. So, people have these little tales, and she has tons of them. He wasn't necessarily giving tales. I think he was being honest, but he was being, for the most part, but he was also showing his colours as far as a person who doesn't have the composure to be on the Supreme Court, or shouldn't be on the Supreme Court. Remembering there's a job for life. It's not like you're saying, all right, let's vote for this guy for 4 years. It's saying, let's vote for people who vote for this guy for the rest of his life. You know, that's a lot of power to give someone, especially someone who can't keep calm and loses shit. I'm not saying that I would. I mean, I'd probably lose my shit too if someone's accused me of something I haven't done. I'd probably be screaming across the court. I was once in court and something happened one time. It stems back to the only thing I'd ever done wrong in the UK, which was put a security guard into an arm lock and push him into a thing of clothes in TK Maxx in the UK, which you call TJ Maxx in America. All right, and I admitted to it because they had me on camera, but I said, the guy put his hands on my ex-wife. What am I meant to do? And so, it's on camera. You can see what I've done. And he said that they had the right to do that. I've talked about this before, because at the end of the day, I haven't got. It's not like I'm a career criminal who has these things to draw from. I'm just going from what happened there. And they changed it to, he then proceeded to kick the man as he was down, which never got mentioned when I went to the police station and said, that's fine, I'm going to accept that and get a caution. So then when it went for this next case, it said I had a history, and then I was like, well, it's not really a history, is it? It's stopping some guy from putting his hands on your ex-wife, or any woman for that matter, who's being heavy-handed. And no, apparently I continued on to kick him. And not just that, the other person who I had the case against, who basically stolen money off me, he had the same thing actually happen to him, even though he's a scumbag piece of shit. His name is Luca Polenghi, by the way. Luca, you're a piece of shit, and you always will be. And so is your wife, Mary Polenghi. You're just both scumbags, and you will be till the time you die, let's face it. But anyway, he went up there looking like some mafioso boss. He's Italian, by the way. Not doing himself any favors, and in front of the jury of 12, and they had the same thing happen. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, even though he's a scumbag piece of shit. That some shopkeeper he'd been in an altercation with, he had apparently done a lot more than what you said. You saw his face change in the witness stand once this certain point came up. So it obviously seems to me, getting back to police corruption now, that what the police do in the UK is when you admit to something, they will sneakily go away and write up the report, but they'll add something in the end. And what that's for, just like what criminal records are for, by the way, criminal record is to stamp your forehead to say, this guy is now a man with no credibility. So if the system ever fucks with you, you have no leg to stand on. So just to understand where it comes from. Why, okay, the USA is slightly different than the rest of the world. The rest of the world is so that you have something against you so the system can fuck with you easier. America's different. It's both of that, and it's also to make money out of you. That's why they've got, 25% of the world's prison population. This is a disgusting fact right now. 330 million people, maybe 330 million people in America. 7.8 something people in the world. Let's just say it's 7.5, right? So that America makes up less than 1/16 of the world. Yet 25% of the prison population in the whole world is in America. So either that means Americans are extremely naughty people, or it means that something else is going wrong with the legal system. And if they always say follow the money. When you follow the money in America, not only does the money lead to lobbyists who are, linked to all the politicians, the two parties, the glove underneath the GOP DNC party, because it's a single party, as I mentioned last video. But what it also points to, if you look further, are the main companies, military industrial complex, which accounts for about half of all taxes. It points to the insurance companies, right? This is effectively a legalized fraud, where they take money off you because you have to have it, but then again at the same time they don't give you money back when you're due for a claim, right? So it's just legalized fraud. You've got your what else you've got there? You've got the big pharma. They can charge whatever they like in this country for medicines, and at the same time oil companies and various other things. So that's following the money, right? Yep. So the money leads to all one place, which is basically corporations who we already know control media. And when I look at the media side of things, I've just been watching the CBS local. It's obviously in Atlanta anyway. It's spun towards the Democratic side, even though there shouldn't be two sides to a coin. It shouldn't be a coin situation. That's what I'm saying. It should be multiple parties. They're on that side. They did show a good part about Trump saying that about the beer situation. I'm glad it was raised. Didn't say about the situation that she couldn't remember about the tester coming in, which day it was, even though it was only a week or 2 weeks ago. So the obvious things there. Basically, I know I'm waffling on here. She is blatantly lying. He was being not fully honest. At first I thought she might just be exaggerating the truth. That's why the lies were coming up, because it seemed like she was telling the truth. And then also bearing in mind she's a psychiatrist, so she knows all the signs there. The revelation as well is the boyfriend of hers that I just mentioned before, the cop. He said that she was coaching someone through a test, because when they brought up that test, first thing I thought of is she's a psychiatrist. She knows how to get around it, right? Obviously not that well, by the fact that myself and so many others on YouTube could see through the lies. And same with him. He's trained to find, as a judge, he is trained to look at someone and know, are they telling the truth? Are they showing signs of being honest? Not just based on the evidence. How are they behaving, right? What's their demeanor? Do they show remorse, And yes, of course, he showed no remorse. Why should he if something didn't happen? But at the same time, something happened. He just can't remember what, which is fair enough that you can't remember. But the fact that there's something there that you can't remember, and that's the gist of it, shows that you're not of the correct character to have that job. That's about all I've got to say on him. That's it, really. She's a liar.